All right. I want to put this slide back up, and you know, I'm pretty sure that the last time I gave this to you, I gave you an old version that I gave you an error, because I think that the BTU per ton for biomass in that first slide was far too low. It was assuming a very high moisture content. So this is revised, and this is the one you ought to refer to if you're working problems. Okay? It's a much better biomass energy density. And it changes things a little bit, because you can see that even $35 per ton biomass is quite cost competitive with coal. All right? $55 biomass, which starts getting into what somebody might maybe be able to grow it for, is actually in the same realm as coal. I mean, I should be careful. It's 40% more than coal, right? But it's getting into the right range. The point that I just want to remind you that we looked at energy, we looked at coal as being about $2.50 per gigajoule. We looked at crude oil as being about $8 per gigajoule. We said we might buy electricity for somewhere between $11 and $22 per gigajoule. And so I just want to remind you of those numbers before doing another little calculation, which is this. If it costs $150 an acre to rent land in Iowa, pardon me, and if I can receive an average of 250 watts per square meter photosynthetically active radiation for 10 hours per day for 120 days, and if I could capture that energy at just 50% efficiency, what would be the land rent only cost? In other words, I get some amount of energy for on my acre based on the amount that's falling here, the amount of time. I get some amount of energy, and I pay some amount to rent that land. So if I just look at the cost of land rent divided by the total energy that I get, what kind of energies are we talking about? Or what kind of cost per gigajoule are we talking about? So let's work that. This is certainly the kind of math that I hope anyone in this class is comfortable with. I know that some of you are bored by this, but some of you may not have done these calculations in a while. So let's look at the intensity of captured radiation. It's, what is it? We've got 250 watts per square meter, and we've got 1 joule per second is 1 watt. Just a reminder. I might not do that for myself, but for you folks, I want to remind you. So I'm going to say I get 3,600 seconds per hour. So this takes me 250 times 3,600, basically gives me joules per hour per square meter. Okay, at that point I've got joules per hour per square meter. 10 hours per day, joules per day per square meter, 120 days. Now I've got joules per season per square meter, and I'm capturing it at 50% efficiency. So that's joules captured per season per square meter. I get that as 540 megajoules per square meter in a season. Okay? The total energy captured is equal to the intensity of the captured radiation times the area over which we capture it, and that's 540 megajoules per square meter multiplied by 1 acre. 1 acre, and we better do a little unit conversion, and it turns out that you have 47 square meters in 1 acre. All right? And when I do that, I get roughly 2,200 gigajoules per acre. Any questions so far? No big magic here, little unit conversions. The land rent only cost of energy is then the 150 bucks per acre rent divided by the 150 bucks per acre, 2,200 gigajoules per acre that I capture, and that's equal to 0.0 per gigajoule. 7 cents per gigajoule. 7 cents per gigajoule. Right? The low-cost competitor out there, the low-cost fossil resource is $2.50 a gigajoule, and I'm going to do this for 7 cents a gigajoule. So again, and this sort of gets back to that lecture 1 graph of total energy from the sun. When you do this sort of math, you think, my goodness, what a resource we have. What a resource we have. I mean, you could make energy for this outrageously low price. Now, of course, there are a couple of real fantasy land, Santa Claus-like things in here. 50% capture efficiency, we don't know how to do that. We don't know how to come close to that yet. And, quite frankly, $150 per acre, okay, that's land rent only, but you know what? You're going to what? You're going to put photocells on the land, or you're going to plant a crop on the land, so there's going to be additional other costs, and they'll be significant. But first pass, interesting notion. So now let's focus our energy a little bit on photosynthesis at a kind of gross scale, what some of the fundamental principles are and what some of the rate limiting steps are.